Walking in on your wife with another man is a cheap cliché. Walking in on her pouring prescription tranquilizers down your brain-injured brother's throat while her lover holds his head back is a completely different kind of hell. My name is Paul. I am 42 years old, and my life's work is dismantling corrupt corporations. I am the guy boardrooms call when they realize their chief executive is stealing millions, and they need him frozen out of the system before he even realizes he is under investigation. I do not scream. I do not get emotional. I draft contracts, I gather receipts, and then I destroy people legally. My mistake was assuming my home was the one place I did not need to audit. It was the costliest miscalculation of my life. Our house on Whispering Pines Drive was quiet when I pulled into the driveway at 11:58 on a rainy Tuesday night. My flight from New York had landed 3 days early because a massive acquisition deal had collapsed on the other party's end. I had not called ahead. I wanted to surprise my wife, Olivia, and check on my 22-year-old brother, Ethan. 2 years ago, a semi-truck crossed the median on Interstate 80 and smashed into Ethan's sedan. He survived, but the head trauma left him with severe cognitive delays and physical limitations. He walks with a heavy limp and relies on us for daily care. I took him in without a second thought. Before my mother passed, I swore a blood oath that I would look out for him. I funded his therapy, built him a private suite on our lower level, and trusted Olivia to manage his schedules while I traveled for business. I unlocked the front door, set my briefcase down, and immediately felt the heavy, unnatural silence of the house. I walked toward the kitchen to grab a glass of water, and that is when I saw him. Ethan was lying face down on the cold kitchen tiles. His legs were twisted awkwardly, his specialized cane thrown several feet away. His breathing was shallow, a terrifying, wet, rattling sound coming from his throat. His fingers were blue. I dropped to my knees so fast my joints cracked against the hardwood. Ethan! Ethan, look at me! Wake up, buddy! His skin was clammy, cold to the touch. I rolled him onto his side, clearing his airway as my heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. Next to his limp hand was an empty plastic bottle of liquid sedatives. Footsteps drifted down the stairs. I looked up, expecting panic, expecting terror. Olivia stood at the bottom of the staircase. She was wearing her expensive silk pajamas, her arms crossed, her face carrying an expression of mild irritation, as if I had interrupted her favorite television show. "Oh, you are back early," she said, her voice flat, entirely devoid of urgency. "Do not start a scene, Paul." He had another one of his little episodes earlier. He was screaming and throwing things. I had to give him his medication to quiet him down. He is just sleeping it off. He is being dramatic. I stared at my wife, the woman I had been married to for 3 years, the woman who posted pictures of our cozy family life on her social media with captions about unconditional love and devotion. "He is not breathing right, Olivia," I said, my voice shockingly quiet. The anger inside me did not burst. It solidified into something cold, heavy, and incredibly precise. "He is suffocating." "He is fine," she muttered, turning back toward the stairs. "You always overreact when it comes to him." I was already dialing 911. The ambulance arrived in under 7 minutes. The sirens cut through the quiet suburban neighborhood, throwing flashing red and blue lights across the pristine white siding of our house. 2 paramedics rushed through the front door with a gurney. The lead medic, a burly man in his late 40s named Miller, took one look at Ethan on the floor, then at Olivia standing casually by the kitchen counter, and then at me. I watched Miller's face freeze. It was a look I had seen in corporate boardrooms when a corrupt vice president suddenly realizes we have already found the second set of books. It was the sudden, terrifying collision of recognition and disbelief. "Sir," Miller said, his hands moving with practiced speed as he administered oxygen to Ethan, "are you normally home during the week?" "No," I said, holding Ethan's limp hand. "I travel constantly for business. Why?" Miller exchanged a swift, dark look with his partner. "We were at this address 4 weeks ago, late May, a Thursday. We responded to an unresponsive male, suspected overdose of prescription tranquilizers. The woman there," he gestured toward Olivia, "told us she was the primary caretaker. She said her husband was in Tokyo and could not be reached. She told us the patient had a history of substance abuse and had intentionally taken the pills." The kitchen went dead silent. The only sound was the rhythmic hiss of the oxygen mask. "I was in Tokyo 4 weeks ago," I whispered, "but she told me he had a minor slip in the bathroom. She told me it was a bruised hip." "She refused transport that night," Miller said, his voice tightening. "Signed the waiver. We filed a report with Adult Protective Services, but because she had power of attorney and medical decision-making rights listed in the file, it got caught in the administrative queue. Sir, You did not know about any of this?" "No," I said, "I did not." I looked at Olivia. She was staring at her fingernails, completely detached, but her left foot was tapping against the floor, a micro-expression of panic. She knew she had just lost control of the narrative. I did not scream. I did not fly into a rage. In my line of work, the moment you let emotion dictate your actions, you lose your leverage. You become predictable. You become weak. Olivia thought she had married a wealthy, gullible businessman who was too busy earning money to notice the details. She forgot that my entire career is built on reading the fine print. "I am riding in the ambulance," I told Miller. I looked at Olivia one last time before we wheeled Ethan out. "Drive yourself to the hospital," I said, keeping my voice entirely level. "We will talk there." During the 12-minute drive to the hospital, sitting in the back of that sterile, bouncing ambulance with my brother's hand in mine, I opened my laptop. I hooked it up to my phone's hotspot. My corporate restructuring brain went to work. I logged into our primary health insurance portal. I pulled up the itemized claims for the past 12 months. Line by line, my marriage dismantled itself in the cold blue glow of the screen. There were 4 separate emergency room visits listed under Ethan's name on dates I was out of town. 4. One in January when I was in London, one in March when I was in Houston, one in April when I was in Denver, and the one Miller mentioned in May. Each time, Olivia had bypassed our regular family doctor, who had known Ethan since his accident. Instead, she had taken him to a sketchy walk-in clinic 40 miles away in the next county. She had filled massive, high-dosage prescriptions for liquid lorazepam and other powerful sedatives using my insurance card. I went to our joint bank accounts. I pulled the statement for the special trust fund I had established for Ethan's long-term care, a trust fund containing $500,000. Olivia was listed as a co-trustee, so she could easily pay his physical therapists and medical suppliers while I was away. Over the last 6 months, $85,000 had been wired from that trust to an entity called Apex Wellness Consulting. I pulled up the state business registry. It took me 3 minutes to find the registered owner of Apex Wellness Consulting, a man named Julian Mercer. Julian Mercer was the specialized physical therapist Olivia had hired to work with Ethan at our house 3 afternoons a week. She had told me he was a cutting-edge neurological specialist who only accepted direct wire transfers. In reality, he was a 28-year-old former personal trainer with a suspended license and a history of fraud allegations. The pieces fell into place with a sickening, heavy thud. Olivia was drugging my brother to keep him unconscious in his basement suite so she could host her friends, bring her lover into my home, and systematically drain my brother's care fund to pay for their lifestyle. They were using my money, my house, and my brother's vulnerable body to fund their disgusting secret world. I closed the laptop. My chest felt tight, but my head was perfectly clear. When a company is failing due to internal fraud, you do not warn the perpetrators. You do not give them a chance to destroy evidence or transfer funds. You smile, you act normal, and you prepare the execution. Olivia arrived at the hospital waiting room at 2 o'clock in the morning. She had changed into a tailored designer sweater and light makeup. She looked like a concerned, loving wife, arriving to support her family, ready to play her part for the doctors. She sat down next to me and reached for my hand. "How is he, honey? I am so worried. This has been such a stressful year with his mental decline." I let her take my hand. I even squeezed it. "The doctors are working on him," I said, keeping my voice soft, tired, and completely convincing. "The paramedics said some strange things, Olivia. He said he was here last month." I watched her hand. Her fingers twitched. Her wrist went rigid for a fraction of a second. "Oh, those paramedics are always exhausted," she said, offering a sad, beautiful smile. "They probably got the address mixed up with the house down the street. You know how chaotic this neighborhood can get." "Right," I said, nodding slowly. "That must be it." She let out a tiny, almost imperceptible sigh of relief. She thought she had bypassed the threat. She thought her wealthy, gullible husband was back under her control. At 3:30 in the morning, the attending physician, a stern woman named Dr. Sterling, came out to the waiting room. "Mr. Wood," she said, looking directly at me and completely ignoring Olivia. "Your brother is stable. We managed to flush his system, but the levels of benzodiazepines in his blood were extremely toxic. If you had arrived even 1 hour later, his respiratory system would have failed entirely." Olivia let out a sharp, dramatic gasp, covering her mouth with her hands. "Oh my God. Ethan, why would you do this to yourself again? I told him, Paul. I told him he needs to be careful with his medication." Dr. Sterling looked at Olivia with a cold, professional detachment that made my heart sing. "The dosage detected in his system is not consistent with self-administration for a patient with his cognitive and motor limitations, Mrs. Wood. We have already initiated a mandatory report to Adult Protective Services and the local sheriff's department. An investigator will be here in the morning." "Of course," I said quickly, stepping in before Olivia could speak. "We will cooperate fully. We want to know exactly how this happened." Olivia went entirely pale. She stared at me, her eyes wide, trying to read my face. "But I've spent 20 years staring down billionaire corporate raiders who wanted to bankrupt thousands of people. I can make my face look like a blank stone wall." "I'm going to stay with him," I told her. "Why don't you go home and get some rest? You look exhausted." "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "I can stay." "No," I said, kissing her cheek. "Go home. We have a big week ahead of us." The moment her car left the hospital parking garage, I called my personal assistant, Sarah. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. "Sarah," I said when she answered, her voice thick with sleep, "I need you to contact our corporate security team. I want a forensic download of all security camera footage from the Whispering Pines house for the last 6 months. Every entrance, every exit. I want it on a secure drive by 8 o'clock. "I am on it, Paul," she said, immediately alert. Then I called Arthur Vance. Arthur is the senior partner at one of the most ruthless litigation firms in Chicago. He has handled every hostile takeover and corporate fraud case I have ever run. "Arthur," I said, "I need an emergency petition for a protective order, a complete freeze on all joint marital assets, and a temporary suspension of my wife's trustee rights over my brother's estate. I have medical records, insurance fraud evidence, and a paper trail of embezzlement." Arthur let out a low whistle. "How fast do you need it?" "I want the paperwork signed and in my hands by 11 o'clock this morning," I said. "And Arthur, do not notify her legal counsel. I want this to be a surprise transition. Consider it done," he said. At 8 o'clock in the morning, I walked into Ethan's hospital room. He was awake, sitting up in bed, looking pale and fragile under the harsh fluorescent lights. When he saw me, his eyes filled with tears, and he tried to sit up further, his weak left arm shaking. "Paul," he whispered, his voice slurred and thick. "I am sorry. I am so sorry." I sat on the edge of the bed and wrapped my arms around him. I held him tightly, feeling the tremors in his shoulders. "You have nothing to be sorry for, Ethan. Nothing. I am here now." When I pulled back, I looked into his eyes. "Ethan, I need you to tell me the truth. What happens when I am away on my trips?" He looked down at his blanket, his fingers twisting the fabric. He was terrified. "Olivia. She gives me the yellow juice. It tastes bitter, Paul. She says it is my vitamins, but it makes my head feel like it is filled with wet sand. I cannot move my legs. I cannot get out of bed." "Why does she give it to you, buddy?" I asked, keeping my voice incredibly gentle, though my blood was boiling hot. "She says she has to do her work," Ethan whispered. "She says if I come upstairs I will ruin everything. And Julian comes over. They lock the door to your room, Paul. Sometimes they laugh really loud. I tried to tell you on the phone last month, but Olivia took my mobile. She told me if I ever complained to you, you would put me in a state asylum and leave me there to rot. She said I was a burden to you." A physical wave of fury washed over me, but I forced it down, locking it away in the chest where I keep all my weapons. "Ethan," I said, looking him dead in the eyes, "you are my brother. You are the only family I have left. You are not a burden. You are my responsibility, and I love you. I am going to handle this. No one is ever going to hurt you in my house again. Do you trust me?" He wiped a tear from his cheek and nodded. "I trust you, Paul." At 10:30, the Adult Protective Services investigator, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Vance, arrived at the hospital. I handed her a thick black binder. In that binder was the entire forensic audit I had compiled over the last 6 hours, the insurance statements, the walk-in clinic records, the wire transfers to Julian Mercer's dummy corporation, and a thumb drive containing the security footage my assistant had compiled. The security footage was damning. It showed Julian Mercer arriving at my house at 10 o'clock at night on dozens of occasions when I was traveling, carrying overnight bags, and leaving at 6 o'clock in the morning. It showed Olivia carrying cups of liquid down to the basement, and it showed Ethan struggling to walk, stumbling, and falling while she watched him from the kitchen, entirely unbothered. Vance flipped through the pages, her jaw tightening with every sheet. "Mr. Wood," she said, looking up at me, "this is an airtight case of financial exploitation and domestic abuse of a disabled adult. I am contacting the state's attorney immediately. We are elevating this to a felony warrant." "Thank you," I said. "I want the arrest warrant issued today." "We can do that," she said, "but we will need to locate her." I smiled. It was the cold, exact smile I use right before I sign the liquidation papers of a competitor. "I know exactly where she will be," I said. "You see, Olivia was the chairperson for the annual Whispering Pines Country Club Charity Gala. It was her absolute favorite event of the year. She had spent 6 months planning it, using my corporate gold card to fund the catering, the decorations, and the premium champagne. She had invited every prominent family in the county, every wealthy socialite, and every local business owner. She wanted to stand on that stage in front of 300 people, looking like the benevolent queen of the suburb, the saintly woman who managed her husband's tragic disabled brother while still finding time to give back to the community. The gala was scheduled for 7 o'clock that evening. I spent the afternoon preparing the battlefield. At 1 o'clock, I met with the bank managers. Armed with the emergency court order Arthur had secured, I froze every single one of our joint accounts. I removed her name from my corporate cards. I revoked her administrative access to our home security systems, our cellular plans, and our insurance policies. At 2 o'clock, I went back to the house on Whispering Pines. I had a professional locksmith change every single deadbolt and security code. I packed 3 suitcases full of Olivia's designer clothes, her expensive shoes, and her jewelry. I loaded them into the back of my SUV. At 4 o'clock, I went to the police station. I met with Detective Reyes, who had been assigned to the case after Vance forwarded the file. "We have the felony warrant for her arrest," Reyes told me. "And we have a secondary warrant for Julian Mercer for conspiracy to commit financial exploitation and possession of controlled substances. We can pick her up at her house." "She is not at the house," I said, "and if you arrest her there, she will call her high-priced friends and try to bury this quietly. No, she wants an audience. Let's give her one." Reyes looked at me, a slow, appreciative grin spreading across his face. "You want to execute the warrant at the gala?" "I think it is highly appropriate," I said. "After all, the theme of her charity gala this year is protecting the vulnerable." At 7:15, the grand ballroom of the Whispering Pines Country Club was glowing with crystal chandeliers and expensive floral arrangements. 300 of the wealthiest people in the county were mingling, sipping champagne, and talking about how beautiful the decor was. Olivia was in her absolute element. She was wearing an elegant emerald green silk gown, her hair swept up in a perfect style, a diamond necklace glittering at her throat. She was laughing, holding a glass of French champagne, standing in the center of a circle of influential local women. I watched her from the balcony overlooking the ballroom. I was wearing my best tailored charcoal suit. I looked relaxed. I looked like a successful man who was proud of his wife. I walked down the grand staircase. When Olivia saw me, her eyes lit up. She stepped away from her friends and walked toward me, her arms open. "Paul, you made it! I was worried you would be too tired from the hospital. How is Ethan?" She spoke loudly enough for the surrounding tables to hear, projecting her perfect, caring persona. "Ethan is doing much better," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the immediate area. "In fact, his brain is clearing up beautifully now that he is no longer being poisoned." Olivia's smile froze. Her eyes went incredibly wide. "Paul, what are you talking about? Are you drunk?" "Not at all," I said, stepping past her to address the circle of socialites who were now watching us with intense curiosity. "I was just telling my wife how wonderful it is that the medical staff at the hospital managed to identify the massive amounts of liquid lorazepam she was secretly feeding my brother." The ballroom around us went completely, shockingly quiet. The whispers died instantly. The clinking of champagne glasses stopped. "Paul, stop this," Olivia hissed, her voice trembling with a mixture of rage and terror. She grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging into my sleeve. "You are having a breakdown. Let's go home right now." "We can't go home, Olivia," I said, gently but firmly removing her hand from my arm. "Mainly because the locks have been changed and your suitcases are in the trunk of my car, but also because you have some guests arriving." The massive double doors of the grand ballroom swung open. 3 uniformed police officers, Detective Reyes and Vance from Adult Protective Services, walked into the room. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. The officers walked straight down the center aisle of the ballroom, their heavy boots thudding against the polished hardwood floor, their handcuffs clinking softly at their belts. They stopped directly in front of Olivia. "Olivia Wood?" Detective Reyes asked, his voice echoing in the silent room. This is a mistake," Olivia stammered, her face turning a ghastly pale gray. She looked around at her friends, the women she had spent years performing for, the women she had gossiped with over expensive lunches. Tell them who I am. This is my event." Not one person spoke. Not one person stepped forward. The silence in that room was absolute, heavy with the sudden, crushing weight of public ruin. "You are under warrant for the arrest of felony child and adult endangerment, domestic abuse of a dependent adult, and grand larceny," Reyes said clearly. Turn around and place your hands behind your back. Paul, she screamed, her voice cracking, losing all of its polished, elegant tone. Paul, do something. Call your lawyers. You cannot let them do this to me. I looked at her. I did not feel pity. I did not feel anger. I felt the deep, profound satisfaction of a closed contract. I did call my lawyers, Olivia, I said quietly. Arthur Vance has already frozen the accounts. Your lover, Julian Mercer, was picked up by the police 20 minutes ago at his apartment. He is already cooperating with the district attorney to save himself. You are on your own. The handcuffs clicked shut around her wrists with a sharp, metallic snap. She began to sob, a harsh, ugly sound that echoed through the crystal-lit ballroom. The police officers led her out, her emerald green silk gown dragging along the floor, her diamond necklace shaking as she wept. The 300 guests watched her go, their faces filled with shock, disgust, and the immediate low buzz of a scandal that would dominate the county for the next decade. I turned to the remaining guests. I picked up a glass of champagne from a passing waiter's tray. Thank you all for supporting a worthy cause tonight, I said to the silent room. I suggest you enjoy the dinner. It has already been paid for. I walked out of the country club, leaving the glittering lights and the whispers behind me. At 9 o'clock, I walked back into Ethan's hospital room. He was sitting up, watching a nature documentary about the oceans, looking peaceful. Is it over, Paul? He asked, looking at me with quiet, hopeful eyes. It is completely over, buddy, I said, sitting in the chair next to his bed. Tomorrow, we are going home. Just you and me. No more yellow juice, no more lies. He smiled, a genuine, relaxed smile that I hadn't seen on his face in 2 long years. Can we get that deep dish pizza tomorrow? We can get whatever you want, Ethan, I said, leaning back in the chair. The deal is closed. If you stayed with me until the very end of this story, hit that like button, drop a comment below, and let me know where you are watching from. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the next one. I will see you on the next ride.